Hi, Reese.
What's good? How are you?
How are you?
Not bad, honestly.
Where are
It's,
you?
I am in Eagle Rock where my office is in LA,
Oh, no.
currently outside.
It sort of looks like you're in a tent camping. Do you have like a camping feel to your office?
It, Emotionally, yes. Physically, I'm in a little rain tent to cover a bunch of toolboxes and like saws and drills and stuff. But I sit out here when I need to feel like I'm outside, but still be at the office.
That sounds good. But wait, you're a fashion designer and you have saws and drills, so you're making other things other than just clothes.
I just like making stuff. Most of these tools out here, it's like storage for my friend Lucas. He does set design, but in exchange that he keeps them here, I get to use them.
Oh,
And so
cool.
it's like all the furniture in my office I built, it's all like out of plywood and stuff. But I've just been like making things for a while, like anything I can make with my hands.
So, okay, so making things with your hands, you must have done that your whole life because your whole life is really not that long up until now. I think you may be the youngest designer in the federation to show in during Men's Fashion Week. Maybe I don't know, but
I don't. I haven't thought about it.
you did
That's
your
cool
first
if it's true.
when you did your first collection. You were 18, and that was in 2017, right?
Yeah, that was the first time like fully realizing like, oh, this could be a serious thing. I had been making stuff for maybe like 3 4 years prior to that, and then about a year before I went out to Paris for that, I moved to LA to learn how to do manufacturing on my own. Just because I lived in London up until then, and I was doing like samples with like a local seamstress, and like had to learn what a pattern was when she asked if I had a pattern. Just little things like that. And so I was like, all right, let's get serious. Moved to LA because I had a friend out here who was doing production for some company. And then he just told me where spots were. And then I kind of just had to like up my level of Spanish a little, and then just learn how to finesse my way into some of these factories, and then just started learning hands on. And then, yeah, about a year of that built up like, I'm not going to say the skill set, at least the confidence to put something real together. And then just took it straight to Paris for the first one.
So you didn't go to fashion school.
I tried. I lasted like 6 weeks though.
You know what? You're not the only fashion genius that has done that, but we'll talk about that later. um, Wait, so did you ever think you would win a CFD Vogue Fashion Award and be showing in Paris so soon after you started your first collection?
I didn't really think I was going to win that award even when I won it, to be honest. like, yeah, none of those things were really in like the forefront or have ever been like true, I guess, like goals from the start. It's always just been like, all right, let's do this and then see what we can do better next time. And then that just evolved into like, okay, here's an opportunity, let's attack that. And then, yeah, that turned into the CFDA thing and then Paris.
Well, that's probably why, because you have this. You're not calculated about the strategy of it. You're just doing.
Exactly. Well, that's why exactly why fashion school wasn't working for me, because it was I felt within the 6 weeks I was there, I felt like I was being taught to draw in a certain way or uh, put things together in a certain way. And granted, there was only 6 weeks of training there. I didn't get to like explore everything, but I just felt like in a class of, call it like 30 people or so, we're all learning how to do the same exact thing. What's the point?
Yeah. I mean, I think you have like a natural affinity for it because I've told you before that your first collection that you showed in Paris, I was thinking, I've seen so many first collections of designers over the years. And, I was expecting not what I saw. And what I saw was a really great show that was clever in the way it was presented. And, it definitely, it's going to go into that. I remember Reese's first show. So that's always a good sign to me. But I'm just curious how, obviously you like to make things, but how did you decide that you wanted to make things in the fashion business? Like how did that come about? Because I know you make furniture and other things.
It was mostly just stemmed from the fact that clothing was like a really strong interest that I found. And then uh, got super into like certain designers or styles of things. And then I'm always like looking at something and figuring out how someone made that, whether it's clothes or something else. But enough time like hanging around a sample showroom and like looking at how things are stitched, I'm like, I could probably do that. And then just eventually tried like 4 or 5 pieces in London. I was like, all right, cool. I feel like I got enough confidence here to like actually go and try something for real. And then got to LA to work on manufacturing, and then was just immediately humbled by how actually difficult this is. But I consider like my first 2 years in LA and like all the financial losses on like not knowing how to do all these things properly, like that's my tuition. That was my fashion school.
Yeah. Yeah, actually that's a good way of looking at it because you learn by just doing everything wrong in a way. That's like sometimes the greatest teacher. It's a painful teacher, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's a good teacher. Um, do you know what are you doing there?
Sorry. Do you need to get past? Yeah. We're filming an interview for FHCM. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. That's a real time moment.
Yeah.
I like that. So tell me about this. I thought this was so cool that when we were on lockdown and had all those store closures and canceled orders and things like that, you did a DIY jacket kit. So how did that come about? That was very cool.
That was just like kind of just looking at all the leftover fabric I had from the canceled orders and was like, what can I do with this? And then I always get people in like Instagram DMs or emails like, oh, how do you make this? Like, I want to learn how to do what you do. And then it was just putting two and two together.
That's cool. So they would, how did you promote that and how did people get it? You just did it on your Instagram and your.
Yeah. The reception to it was wild. I really was not expecting like the response that it had. I was just like, here's like a cool little side project to keep me occupied for like the first 4 weeks of quarantine. And then once I put it out, it was kind of, I just put it out to show like, all right, here's something I did. This is like, let's just release the finished project, figure out what's next. And then the response on that was nuts. And so we ended up doing it for, I think it took like 3 weeks to actually pack up all the orders.
That's very cool. I hope you do that again. I think that's actually
yeah. It's definitely like a new part of the business that I'm trying to explore.
Yeah, I feel I have a really good feeling about that. I want to ask you a serious question. Matthew Williams said recently that being at Givenchy was a long-term dream of his. Do you, at this point, do you have any long-term dreams like that?
Honestly, not really. I look at, I mean, obviously the major houses I look at and am really inspired by like at the level of that they can execute, but it's never, I don't know if my goal is necessarily working for another house. It's more so I look at those as an inspiration for like, let's see how big we can build something.
Yeah, that's good. So maybe a dream might be to just build your business like a Dries Van Noten or a Rick Owens or somebody like that.
Yeah, exactly. Just and then I mean, it also just goes down to not having to like hit specific targets or quotas on things. And it was like my favorite part of that Dries documentary was how open he was about like, if no one buys this season, I don't get to do another season. And I'm like, oh, cool. This is like the only person who I've seen in this position actually like reflect how I feel openly.
Yeah. That's what makes Dries so special is he always kind of did it a little differently. And it always seemed like there was a little tension of getting into the system, but he did it in a way that worked for him. So obviously this global pandemic and the racial movement are affecting everything. I mean, you in LA and me in New York, it's just it's really hit the fashion business hard. And I was just wondering, what do what obviously it's going to change things. Do you have any ideas about like, you know, what you would like to see the change to be?
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about it a handful of times. It's more so I have no idea what it's going to look like in X amount of time. I'm hoping though it looks like at least there's more positions for people like how I started this, where it was more uh, just completely doing it on your own and being able to focus on like direct to consumer. Because I mean, like speaking of the pandemic specifically, we've seen a lot of like major third party retailers uh, just go under. And to me, I've always considered them more so like gatekeepers. And as those gatekeepers get removed, I'm hoping a lot of people realize like, oh, okay, if I don't actually need to go to those guys and people are still doing stuff, like, let me just go out and try.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's going to get a whole lot more, at least I'm hoping it's going to get a whole lot more inclusive, because I just believe that there's so much undiscovered talent because of you couldn't get a meeting at XYZ or you didn't have an invite to certain things in Paris. And it's like, now that we are all literally online only, there's so much potential for people to discover new things and actually like get their work out there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping more people just realize like it's pretty like open game right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in a weird way, there's a lot of opportunity right now
I
for.
try to look at the opportunity in everything.
Mm-hmm.
The first week of quarantine, I was like not sure what was going to happen. I was in a bad mood the whole time. And I was like, okay, cool. Let's take this and then pivot to the DIY thing. It took me like a week to get out of that phase.
Mm-hmm.
And that just kicked off everything. Like I just try to stay inspired and in a good mood about everything.
Mm-hmm. That's very cool. So my last question was, I wanted to know what moment or situation of great joy you've had since you started your business. Is there, I mean, there's lots of them, but what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
I don't know if there's a specific one. I
Yeah.
I kind of treat everything as I mean, it's like an ever evolving project, company, collections, the whole bit. It's like as long as if there's an idea and we get to a point where we can fully realize and execute it, like that's the win. So it's just like every time that happens, where it's as simple as there's like a t-shirt graphic I came up with and then finally drew it how I wanted to. That's the same feeling as being able to do a show in Paris. It's like all those little wins play the same role for me mentally.
So I think what I'm hearing is that your your approach to all of this is really to be really in the present and kind of feel your way through how you want to do things and not having
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, I mean, I think
Because
that
there's no real playbook to follow.
yeah.
There there's
Well, some would
no
disagree with you. Some people would say there is a playbook, but the playbook
I
is
think there definitely is a playbook, but I don't think it's written for people who didn't do a certain fashion school and work intern at this house and then go to that house, then assist this person. It's like there's no real blueprint for someone who just wants to get in and try it. So I'm figuring it out as I go and trying to make everything as public as possible. So someone who hasn't started something yet and be like, I mean, I could do it if he did it. Like, obviously it takes a lot of work, but it's like the whole point is, I mean, I didn't do anything technically like the right way.
why do I have a feeling that you're going to inspire lots of young kids, and you're also probably going to be the inspiration for a lot of older designers that want to be just like you? I think so. When's your show? Or is it? It's a film, right?
Yeah, we filmed it on Friday, and it comes out next Monday, the 13th.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm really
Yeah, it's
excited.
exciting. I just went through the first rough cut of the edit, and now I got to work on the music later today.
Oh my gosh, I know it's going to be so good. Thank you for taking the time to talk.
No, of course.
All right. Good luck with everything, and I can't wait to see what you're going to do next.
Yeah, I'm excited for people to see it.
Me
I'm really happy with this one, at least from the rough cut. Like,
too.
and if
Yeah.
that's cool, it can only get better, right?
Yes. All right. I'll talk to you later.
All right, perfect. Sounds good.
Bye.
Yeah.